working to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Hello and welcome to ASEAN in Focus. I'm Maricar Velasco, delivering to you the latest news in and around the ASEAN region. On today's headlines, the search for victims in the rubble of a collapsed building in southern Cambodia drew to a close Sunday, with the final death toll at 36, the latest tragedy in a string of deadly construction accidents. In the wake of rising tension between the United States and Iran, the Armed Forces of the Philippines has been ordered by President Rodrigo R. Duterte to prepare its air and naval assets, which could be used in the evacuation of overseas Filipino workers in the Middle East should hostilities erupt in the region. Government-backed development banks of Japan, China, and South Korea have signed an agreement with public and private financial institutions in Southeast Asia to meet increasing demand for infrastructure projects in the fast-growing region. A five-story building in Jakarta partly collapsed Monday morning, injuring at least 8 people, with more trapped inside, local television stations reported. It was not immediately clear if anyone was killed in the accident or was connected to flooding in the capital region last week that left more than 60 people dead. TV images showed about half the building, located on the massive city's western side, had caved in, with concrete and other debris lying on the road. Rescue officials carried the injured out on stretchers. A National Search and Rescue Agency official told local TV they are still evacuating the victims trapped inside the building, adding that they can't say yet what the cause is. Authorities did not immediately respond to requests for comment. The building is reportedly a mixed residential commercial space with a convenience store on the ground floor and small rental units in the upper floors. The search for victims in the rubble of a collapsed building in southern Cambodia drew to a close Sunday, with the final death toll at 36, the latest tragedy in a string of deadly construction accidents. Cambodia Prime Minister Hun Sen said 23 people had been pulled alive from the rubble of the 7-story hotel, which crumpled to the ground in Seaside Kep on Friday afternoon. He promised that families of victims would get $50,000 each in compensation, while those injured would receive $20,000. He told reporters that contractor responsible for the construction had died in the accident, while the building's owner had been detained. The rescue effort lasted more than 40 hours, mobilizing hundreds of soldiers and laborers using excavators, drills, and power saws to clear concrete and cut through metal bars of the pancake structure. Cambodia is undergoing a construction boom, with hotels, high-rises, and casinos springing up under little regulatory oversight. The tough and often dangerous labor is undertaken by an estimated 200,000 construction workers, mostly unskilled, reliant on day wages, and not protected by union rules, according to the International Labor Organization. Last June, some 28 people died in the collapse of a building under construction in Sihanoukville, a beach town flush with Chinese investment. Indonesia is stepping up sea and aerial patrols of islands near the disputed South China Sea, an official said Saturday, following a diplomatic spat over trespassing Chinese vessels. Military aircraft and 3 warships with some 600 Navy, Army, and Air Force personnel have been deployed to waters around the Natuna Islands, which border the South China Sea. Indonesia has detained Chinese vessels in the fishing-rich waters in the past. Defense Commander Vice Admiral Yudo Margono said in a statement that territorial violations by foreign vessels in Indonesian exclusive economic zone is a threat to Indonesian sovereignty. The move comes after Indonesia summoned the Chinese ambassador this week and lodged a strong protest over a Chinese Coast Guard vessel escorting Chinese fishing boats around the island in mid-December. Beijing claims the majority of the resource-rich waterway through the so-called Nine-Dash Line, a vague delineation based on maps from the 1940s as the then Republic of China snapped up islands from Japanese control. Indonesia does not have a claim in the South China Sea, but said it would not tolerate incursions by China, a key trading partner, into its nearby waters. Beijing responded that it has historic rights in the region and that fishing boats had been carrying out legal and reasonable activities. Indonesian rescue teams flew helicopters stuffed with food to remote flood-hit communities on Saturday as the death toll from the disaster jumped to 60 and fears grew about the possibility of more torrential rain. Tens of thousands in Jakarta were still unable to return to their waterlogged homes after some of the deadliest flooding in years hit the enormous capital region, home to about 30 million. In neighboring Lebak, where half a dozen people died, police and military personnel dropped boxes of instant noodles and other supplies into remote communities inaccessible by road after bridges were destroyed. Torrential rains that started on New Year's Eve unleashed flash floods and landslides. Indonesia's disaster mitigation agency said on Saturday that 2 people were also killed after flash floods and landslides hit a village in North Sulawesi on Friday. The agency said Saturday the total death toll had climbed to 60, with 2 people still missing. Jakarta shelters filled up with refugees, including infants, resting on thin mats as food and drinking water ran low. Some had been reduced to using floodwater for cleaning. The health ministry has said it had deployed some 11,000 health workers and soldiers to distribute medicine, disinfectant hygiene kits, and food in a bid to stave off outbreaks of hepatitis A, mosquito-borne dengue fever, and other illnesses, including infections linked to contact with dead animals. Going now to the Philippines, where the number of houses destroyed by Typhoon Ursula, international name Panfany, in eastern Visayas has now reached 233,353, according to the Department of Social Welfare and Development. Of the number, a total of 16,161 houses were totally damaged and 217,192 partially damaged, according to Theo Felices DSWD Eastern Visayas Regional Disaster Response Operation Division Project Development Officer. He adds most of the totally damaged houses are those made of light materials and built along coastal villages. Leyte has the highest number of destroyed houses at 129,835, followed by Western Samar 43,515, Eastern Samar 35,364, and Biliran 24,639. The typhoon has affected 371,132 families from 1,778 villages in over 70 towns region-wide. Felices clarified that the number is not yet the final count. Travelers will face tighter screening following reports that Chinese authorities are investigating a mysterious illness amid concerns that the flu-like virus is linked to severe acute respiratory syndrome, the Department of Health, or DOH, said on Sunday. In a statement, DOH Secretary Francisco Duque III said he has instructed the Bureau of Quarantine to intensify the screening of all incoming travelers, especially those who showed signs of fever or signs of respiratory infection. Citing reports, Duque said an outbreak of a mysterious illness has affected 44 individuals in China. The said disease is similar to viral pneumonia of unknown origin. Duque also urged travelers experiencing the symptoms, especially those who came from China, to get screened immediately. He also urged the public to practice proper hygiene, such as frequent hand washing and wearing of masks in crowded places, among others.
I am here at Gastown, which is a National Historic Site in Vancouver, British Columbia. Located in Vancouver's oldest neighborhood is the steam-powered clock, which is Gastown's most famous landmark. Make sure to tune in to Digital Nest every Tuesday and Thursday at 7:30 p.m. I am Lou Aquino, EBC correspondent, and I am 1 with 25.
Soccer, the world's favorite sport. And it's no wonder. Spectacular goals. And plenty of emotion. The best of game day. Kickoff.
Annyeong bundur konnichiwa, kumusta? Hello po to all of our viewers in the Middle East and in North Africa. I am Ate DJ and you can watch me and Teacher Sally here on Net25 Kids Live. You can catch me every Tuesdays and Thursdays on Anong Senyo, and you can catch Teacher Sally every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays on actually this set. This is the Kid Cuento set. We are inviting you all to watch Net25 through OSN, the largest entertainment network in the Middle East and North Africa. You can now watch Net25 shows on the OSN channel 725, aired on the same day as the Philippines. Watch your favorite shows live, on demand, anytime, anywhere, and on any mobile device on OSN Play. Here on Net25 and OSN, you're surely going to feel at home. Siguradong at home kayo dito. Again, I am Ate DJ and I am 1 with 25.
Welcome back. In the wake of rising tension between the United States and Iran, the Armed Forces of the Philippines has been ordered by President Rodrigo R. Duterte to prepare its air and naval assets, which could be used in the evacuation of overseas Filipino workers in the Middle East should hostilities erupt in the region. This, according to the Department of National Defense spokesperson Arsenio Andolong in a message to reporters Sunday night. He said this order came after the chief executive called for an emergency meeting with DND Secretary Delfin Lorenzana, newly appointed AFP Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Filimon T. Santos Jr., commanders of the Army, Navy, and Air Force, Philippine National Police Chief, and their principal staffs on Sunday afternoon. The meeting, he said, was conducted to ensure the safety of Filipinos working in the Middle East, especially those deployed in Iran and Iraq, whose well-being could be endangered in the event of open hostilities. Tensions escalated in the Middle East after top Iranian General Qasem Soleimani was killed in a drone strike in Baghdad, Iraq on January 3, which was reportedly ordered by U.S. President Donald Trump. Tehran vowed a fierce retaliation against those responsible for the death of Soleimani. Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Filimon Santos Jr. on Monday said the military is monitoring local terror groups that might express sympathy to Iran following the killing of its top general. In an interview with reporters, Santos said President Rodrigo Duterte met with Philippine security officials to discuss actions on the impact of the killing of Qasem Soleimani in a U.S. airstrike on January 3. He said plans have been presented to the president should evacuations in the Middle East need to be carried out, including military assets that could be used in evacuating overseas Filipinos and routes that might be taken. He said possible assets that are ready for deployment include the Philippine Air Force's Lockheed C-130 Hercules transport aircraft, of which there are 4 to 5 in its inventory, and large transport ships of the Philippine Navy, which includes the 2 strategic sea-lift vessels, the BRP Tarlac LD-601 and BRP Davao del Sur LD-602, and 2 Bacolod City-class logistic vessels, the BRP Dagupan City LS-551 and BRP Bacolod City LS-550, along with smaller cargo ships. The government is planning to work with members of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations to promote the development of the aviation industry, according to informed sources. According to the Japan Times, as the first step, Japan will create a cooperation framework with the Malaysian government, which positions aircraft as a strategic industry, the sources said Saturday. While Tokyo has signed a memorandum of cooperation and other agreements with U.S. and European governments and companies, it will be the first time for Japan to enter into such an agreement with an Asian nation. Through such moves, the government hopes to speed up private sector collaborative projects in the growing ASEAN market. Japan's Industry Ministry and Malaysia's Ministry of International Trade and Industry will hold a meeting in mid-February on the sidelines of Singapore Air Show 2020 and are expected to agree on setting up a bilateral cooperation frameworks, according to sources. Under the framework, the two sides will boost cooperation over the manufacturing process of Japanese and Malaysian aircraft parts makers. Japan will also provide the Southeast Asian nation with support over human resource development, including sending experts and accepting trainees. Malaysia has declared that it aims to become the biggest aerospace nation in Southeast Asia by 2030. Brunei's total fertility rate, or TFR, is the third lowest after Singapore and Thailand in the region, according to a report by the World Bank. According to local daily The Borneo Bulletin on Sunday, Brunei's TFR dropped to 1.7% per woman in 2018 compared to 1.8% in 2017, 2016, and 2015. 8 years ago, 2012, the rate was 1.907%. TFR is the average number of babies born per woman throughout her reproductive life. The more Bruneian women join the workforce, the number of children likely to be born decreases, the Daily reported, quoting local experts' words. They said the low fertility rate is mainly due to couples marrying late in life and the rising cost of living, especially when it comes to cost of raising children. Kyodo News Agency reports that government-backed development banks of Japan, China, and South Korea have signed an agreement with public and private financial institutions in Southeast Asia to meet increasing demand for infrastructure projects in the fast-growing region. The Japan Bank for International Cooperation, the China Development Bank, and the Korea Development Bank have established the ASEAN +3 interbank cooperation mechanism in response to the strong financial need in the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, according to the GBIC. The GBIC said the program aims to provide financial support based on the global standards such as openness, transparency, economic viability, debt sustainability, and compliance with laws and regulations for the development of the region. Such assistance would also promote economic integration and connectivity in the 10-member ASEAN. The agreement was struck on the sidelines of a summit involving leaders of Japan, China, South Korea, and ASEAN in November on the outskirts of Bangkok. And finally, the digital economy of ASEAN is rapidly expanding to its millions of users. And ASEAN recognizes that MSMEs are critical to the well-being of the region and to the success of the ASEAN economic integration agenda. So the ASEAN governments are active in putting support policies in place and initiate regional efforts to assist MSMEs with digitalization.
The digital economy of ASEAN is rapidly expanding to more than 330 million internet users. Micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as foreign startup companies, are leading the way in this emerging market.
Myanmar has opened up recently and people are moving from no phone to smartphones. What we do is we connect freelancers with businesses, especially startups and SMEs. We've got 14,000 freelancers on board and we're working with over 200 clients.
In Cambodia, public transport has a lot of room for improvement in areas such as fairness, safety, and efficiency.
We bring the technology with the standard price. Passenger can find the driver very fast and the driver can find the passenger easily as well.
Here in the Philippines and other emerging markets, you see more real-world problems that could be solved through digitalization. Our international payment system helps people manage their properties wherever they are. They could facilitate any types of payments and use different funding methods that normally would have been available here in the Philippines.
Vietnam's growing population and need for flexible housing solutions created an opportunity for a local technology startup.
We think about the smart lock. We replace the physical key on the door. Everything is connected by your smartphone.
In subsidiary group, the digital technology is changing all the whole process. I can monitor what is product from my factory, our distributor, how much they have left. We can sell our product through the internet. I can deal with customer in any country in the world.
Indonesia is an archipelago and very widespread. The digitalization helps so much, not only in terms of the consumer side, but also in terms of how we build our supply chain. What we do is we bring forgotten food to the global market, and we also bring the stories and values behind the product.
MSMEs are looking for software solutions that are customizable and require low upfront cost. Our software is developed locally, and we understand the ASEAN market and the local challenges faced by small and medium enterprises.
Factory digitalization and automation significantly raised the level of productivity while maintaining low rate of errors. This has allowed the company to quickly react to fast-changing market demands.
Our product is QR code system that can identify between counterfeit and real product. The brand owner can start the personalized marketing plan or promotion. Digital technology can enable direct communication between business owners and consumers.
We see it as a mission to convey the importance of ICT in Laos and to progress the region from its current state to a higher level by transferring knowledge to a younger generation of entrepreneurs.
Companies that are able to accurately seize the consumer's need have substantial promise of growth in ASEAN. Omise is one example of a foreign startup that has successfully taken advantage of the thriving online consumer market.
The benefit of the starting business in the ASEAN is you can expect significant growth, significant demand. People are not afraid adopting new technologies, and we can bring back this whole package to developed countries such as Japan.
The ASEAN governments are currently putting supportive policies in place and initiate regional efforts to assist MSMEs with digitalization.
MSMEs benefit from ASEAN economic integration, especially in digitalization. ASEAN governments help MSMEs in adopting digital technology and creating new business. For Thailand and many ASEAN countries, the most challenging and critical issue is the necessity of the digital adoption of micro enterprises.
ASEAN businesses are increasingly embracing digital technology. The ASEAN Success Storybook tells the story of 50 companies that are flourishing thanks to the use of digital technologies. The MSMEs featured are promoting further digitalization and contribute to enhancing the quality of life as well as industrial structures in ASEAN. Japan continues to stand by ASEAN as one of its oldest friends, recognizing 45 years of ASEAN-Japan friendship and cooperation, and the celebration of the 20th anniversary of Amex.
And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Maricar Velasco, and I am 1 with 25.